No names, no laughter, no silver or gold. No coming back after, no tales untold. The rhyme that every kid west of the river knows by heart. The riddle that passes in whispers across the playgrounds, and nervous giggles by the shadows of the high school lockers, and the rules that form the basis for all the best drinking games at the nights in the local college. They are the rules one had to know when in pursuit of CAVEBOY. The rain is light, but the wind is fierce, and it drags these spraying bitter streaks across my face. I squinted, hood pulled tight, my fingers clenching and unclenching in search of warmth. We have gathered at the hole, the 7 of us, and we talk quietly amongst ourselves, amiably, anxiously, as 2 unravels the ladder and starts to lower it down. No names. Rule number 1. If we were going to do this, we decided that we were going to do it properly, so no names. We've all known each other for years, but for this evening's excursion, we've numbered up. I'm number 3. Down we'll go, down into the hole, and we'll debunk the myth of CAVEBOY, or return home heroes with proof of his existence, once and for all. The hole itself is narrow and dark, can't be more than 2 feet in diameter, situated not half a mile from the edge of the cliff. It's the only natural feature around, and it's a claustrophobic's worst nightmare. There are no trees up here, no bushes, no streams or even large rocks. Just the howling of the wind, the wild grass, and this hole in the ground. Down it goes, down, down, down into the darkness below. You probably think that we're mad for what we're about to do, but this was not some improvised, off-the-cuff decision made in the aftermath of a few beers. We've been planning this for months. The idea snowballed. We're adventurers, and now the hypothetical has become real. And here we stand around the edge, as 2 quietly starts to lower the ladder down into the dark. My girlfriend draws close to me and squeezes my arm. I look at her and smile. Such beautiful brown eyes. Such soft skin. She's incredible. I think that I love her. I've never loved anything else before, so I can't be certain though. But I don't know what else it is, if not love. She's number 4. I can't hear him over the howl of the wind, but by the way that he's standing, the grin on his face, the casual touching of the arm. 5 looks to be flirting with his 6 and 7, and shamelessly so. The girls giggle as he gestures to the hole, makes some joke about it presumably. I grin. The levity of the moment is welcome, and while my own regrets about agreeing to this excursion are rising now with real force as I look by my feet into the dark, narrow little tunnel down into the earth, I'm not a coward. I won't be the one to speak up. A voice rich with confidence, false or otherwise, rises over the gale. Do we have all the equipment then, gang? Cameras, LEDs, gloves, flashlights, the flare. Gang. I suppress a laugh. Did he call us gang? What the hell, man? We're not Mystery Incorporated. Our esteemed leader looks us over. He puts his hands together briefly and then pushes his wet blonde hair from his eyes. Number 1. He put this entire operation together. He's the one that got us all on board. We'll be legends, he had said with passion. The new legends. Forget about Colin MacLeod. We'll be the ones that they'll tell all the stories about going forward. Colin MacLeod was the original hero. Local legend told that he had gone down himself into the hole, alone. He had gone in search of CAVEBOY. 20 or so years ago now, so the original stories had become distinctly distorted. But the rumors told of how he had first moved here for college. This was unusual enough in and of itself, since most people here just wanted to leave. But he had discovered the rules supposedly etched into the walls of CAVEBOY's home. He had shared the secrets that he had found, spun tale after captivating tale, enjoyed the fruits of the mystery that he peddled, and then promptly disappeared. He ditched town in pursuit of more exciting ventures, not before allegedly knocking up a couple of the local girls on his way out though. What a guy. An asshole, but a legend nonetheless. Our expedition tonight falls under his shadow. Number 1 peers down into the hole, runs a hand across his lower jaw and stands tall, looking us over one at a time. "We make history tonight, guys and gals," he says. "And remember the rules of the rhyme. If we're to presume that Colin McCreed didn't just pull them out of his ass all those years ago, then they hold real weight. Don't take them for granted." He recites them somberly, in a voice that's commanding and clear, as thunder rolls across the evening's gray sky in the distance. No names, no laughter, no silver or gold, no coming back after, no tales untold. A shiver runs up my spine, and to feel my girlfriend squeeze me just a little tighter. She's a brave girl, braver than me, I would say honestly, but we all need the comfort of another every now and then. He goes on. "Perhaps," he says, "now would be the opportune time for me to say just a few. Oh, just get on with it, you preppy asshole." I mutter to my girlfriend and she snorts, but thanks to a sudden and unwelcome drop in the wind, I think that one hears me too. He pauses and looks at me, eyebrow raised, and I wink at him. He smirks and shakes his head. "On second thought, let's just get this thing into motion," he says good-naturedly. He looks down at 2 crouched by the entrance to the hole, fixing the ladder in place, and he gives our leader a little salute. "So, once we're down there officially, no names." 1 reiterates as he checks and double-checks his belt. My boy 5 helps 7 finish packing and tightening the group's communal backpack, and together the 2 of them strap it to a length of rope and start to lower it down into the dark. Most of our supplies are inside. No laughter, keep the giggles to yourself. I think that we're okay for silver and gold, unless there are any secret prospectors in the group. I stifle a chuckle of my own. The final 2 rules, we're not sure what they mean, of course. No one is, but this is our only planned excursion as a group. I doubt that we'll ever do this again, and I hope that I speak for all of us when I say that I feel that we know each other as well as any members of any group can. I trust you people implicitly. There shouldn't be any tales untold between us. He smiles and opens his hands in a gesture of faith, stepping forward, and with a hand from number 2, he clambers onto the ladder. With a clenched jaw, he begins his descent. I watch the top of his wet blonde head vanish into the darkness, and the gravity of the moment and our mission hits me like a punch to the stomach. I suppress a wave of cold panic as the wind roars in my ears. I make eye contact with 5 as he chews the side of his cheek. He grimaces at me and I return the expression. 6 holds her flashlight above the entrance to the hole, providing in theory a guiding light for number 1, but I'm not sure how much good it's doing in all honesty. She pushes her glasses up her nose with her forefinger as 5 clambers awkwardly onto the rope ladder. He's looking away from me up at 7, but something either in his expression or in some unheard words makes her blow him a kiss. What an ass, I think to myself with a grin as he disappears down. "Here, 6, I'll do that. It's okay, you go on down," my girlfriend says, giving my hand a squeeze and walking around the edge of the hole to 6, holding out her hand for the flashlight. 6 passes it over and takes a deep breath, clambering onto the ladder and down into the hole. 7 follows with some reassuring words from 2 as she nervously ties up her hair and begins to cautiously climb down. Just 3 of us up here now. Myself, my girlfriend with the flashlight, and number 2 at the ladder. He'll be staying up here, ensuring that the ladder remains strapped in place. He's a good guy if a little anxious. He volunteered to come down with us, but we all know that he would really rather not. So it was agreed in unspoken terms that he would remain up here. I reach out for his hand and he grabs it, squeezing and wishing me words of encouragement. "Thanks, brother. Stay strong," I reply as I step carefully onto the ladder. 4 will follow me down. I take a deep breath and I lower myself in. The ground rises around me until the wind and the rain are no longer a force on my face, only a groan in the surface world above. I can feel myself shaking, teeth chattering as I lower myself down, rung by shaking rung. It's tight. My back presses up against the edge of the hole. My elbows bump and press up against these sides with discomfort. The earth is cold and dark and heavy all around. The sound of the wind above is replaced steadily by the sound of my own labored breathing, and I work to bring it under control as I descend. We'll be the legends, one had said, the new legends. And I allow these words to echo around my head, willing me down as I lower myself rung after rung. Down and down into the deep end, the dark of the unknown. The voices of my friends dance on my eardrums, and then they become clearer. I catch flashes of light from below my peripheral vision. I'm getting close, and when my back no longer presses against the tunnel's sides, when I can hear them clearly behind me, I jump down onto the ground with a grunt, grinning at the others as we whisper excitedly. I catch glimpses of their faces as they scan the beams of their lights across the walls. I reach for my belt, clicking my own flashlight on and taking my new surroundings. The supposed home of CAVEBOY. The walls are thick, dark rock embedded in the earth. Narrow passageways and tunnels branch off in all directions. Around our feet is a modest pile of trash, cans, bottles mostly. They clink and clatter as we move about. My girlfriend jumps down from the ladder beside me and I wrap her up in a hug. Well done, number 4, I whisper. Back at you, 3, she whispers in return. All right, guys, 1 says softly, his voice distorted and echoed in these strange and narrow new surroundings. Grab your equipment from the backpack. I'll take the first shift with it once we're all good. Then I think it's best if we can... If you say split up and search for clues, 1, I might just have to punch you, says 5. I have to stifle another laugh and I hear a snort from number 7. 1 isn't happy, however. You know the rules as well as I do, man. Don't mess around, no laughter. And I tell you what, 5, you can take first shift with the backpack. 5 says nothing in response, but he nods, raising his eyebrows at me once 1 has pushed the bag into his chest and turned away. I smirk back, and we press on as a group down one of the tunnels, but not before my girlfriend has placed a bright red LED light at the ladder's base. The first in a trail of breadcrumbs back, so to speak. A little more substantial than breadcrumbs, though, we hope. The tunnel is cold, frighteningly cold, and rocks stick out into the passage at dangerous and unusual angles. 6 is snapping photos with her phone every minute or so, and the flash temporarily lights up great sections of the walls at once, casting curious shadows out over the uneven surface. On we walk in almost total silence for another 10 or so minutes. We are faced with the choice of a couple of offshoot tunnels in this period, and each time we make a choice we put down one of the LED lights. One seems to be leading us through the tunnels that go down, the ones that decline and carry us lower into the complex. I'm on edge. My heart is pounding, but it's exciting. My anxiety at the entrance to the hole has given way to a more general sense of anticipation. I may be scared, but I'm not, fearful, I guess. Like being on a roller coaster. This place is cool, creepy, sure, but it's only tunnels under the ground. Just tunnels, I tell myself. But my anxiety makes a return once we enter into the cavern. It's large, wide, colossal in fact. The tunnel gives way and I hear little gasps of amazement from the team as they send their beams of light out across the rock and into the distance. Great stalactites hang down from the ceiling and strange sharp formations cover the ground. All around us, woven into rock and the stone and the earth, are long, thin, strange mushrooms, like a creeping fungus, glowing ever so slightly, almost imperceptibly in a shade of pale blue. And up ahead is a huge, flat slab of stone. It's monstrous in size and carved into it, faded over time but still quite clear indeed, are the words to the rhyme. The rules. No names, no laughter, no silver or gold. no coming back after, no tales untold. Shit. Somebody speaks. I realize after a moment that it was me. 6 snaps a picture. Incredible, mutters 1. Just incredible, isn't it? I mean, look, just look at it. My God, says 5, taking a step closer, placing his hand onto the rock. If he stretches, he can touch the letters on the bottom line. So there's truth to the stories. There's truth to the legend. CM. Colin McCreed. He must have. His words catch in his throat. Fear, emotion, I can't tell. It doesn't matter. I feel what he's feeling, we all do. And carved below it off to the right is something else. In a shaking hand, I turn the beam of my flashlight towards it. CAVEBOY welcomes you. He watches. 5 murmurs it out loud. 7 starts to whimper, but 1 can't stop grinning. The grin looks maniacal in the shadows cast by the flashlights. He lifts the camera around his neck and takes some pictures of his own. I knew it, he says over and over. You see, I knew that there had to be something down here. We're going to find him, guys. We're going to find CAVEBOY. He watches 1. I say out loud, stepping forward and gesturing to the hastily carved inscription towards the bottom. This doesn't concern you at all. 1 doesn't even seem to be listening. It's like a movie or we're in a novel or something. He mutters gleefully, snapping picture after picture. 7 speaks up. Maybe we should go back, you guys, she says in a wavering voice. 1 turns to her. Go back? You're kidding, right? We can't go back. We go onwards, through the cavern. We agreed to do this as a team. A one and all for nothing type of deal. Come on, let's go on a little bit further. 6 squeezes 7's arm. It's all right, girl, she says. Aren't you excited? Come on, we'll be okay. And so we shrug and we exchange glances and we all follow 1 down deeper into the cavern. My girlfriend traces her fingers along the stems of one of the faintly glowing blue mushrooms, the fungus in the rock. Hey, I hiss to her, don't touch that. You don't know what it is. She pushes me playfully and rolls her eyes. Deeper we go, deeper into a lightless tunnel set into the side of the cavern. Our footsteps loud against the damp stone beneath, our breath fog-like in the chilled air. The walls narrow further until we arrive in what seems to be a small room of sorts. The mushrooms are thicker in here, and in the ground below is another dark hole. Rectangular though, this one, and wider. What looks to be a loosely carved set of stone steps descend down to the world below. Oh hell, mutters my girlfriend as we all take in these stairs of stone. What do you think they are? Asks number 5. I mean, they look kind of rough, but these steps, they're too accurate to be a coincidence, right? They were carved, they must have been, 6 said. She brushes her hair behind her ear. But they look old, eroded. They must have been here for some time, I mean. It's not like there's much down here to erode them, you know. We have to go down, you know that right, guys, we have to see. 1 says, already making his way below. Careful step after step, ducking to avoid the edge of the rectangle as he lowers himself inside. Screw it, says number 7, trembling, but holding her composure as she begins her own descent. If we don't go all the way now, then he's just going to make us come back, right? She says with a nervous giggle. Arms burst out of the darkness below. A shadow grabs 7 by the shoulders and she slips on the stone. 4 lets out a shriek and we all take a step backwards. 5 swearing violently as he swings the beam of his flashlight onto the assailant. But it's only 1. Did you just laugh? He hisses. Panic writ across his face, and I feel it too. I hadn't realized until now just how much I had been relying on one sense of confidence to keep maintenance over my own mood. I don't. 7 replies awkwardly. 1 looks wildly over the faces of the group. I couldn't hear. Did she laugh? Was it a laugh? I look at my girlfriend. She speaks up. It wasn't. I mean, I don't think it really was a... No. 6 cuts in, shooting her a glance. No, she didn't laugh, 1. You misheard. Come on, let's keep going. 1 takes this in and releases 7's shoulders. He pushes his blonde fringe from his eyes and squeezes her on the arm. Sorry, he says. I'm sorry. He rubs his forehead and turns, heading back down into the tunnel below. 7 smiles nervously at 6, shaken, and follows him. My girlfriend does the same, but before I can descend too, 5 stops me and gestures behind. What is it? I ask. Just take a look, bro. I turn and he lights up an area of rock above and behind me. My teeth are set on edge as I take it in. It's a drawing in what looks like some kind of white chalk. There is a human face, a man's disturbingly intricate. Chalk stems and fungi grow through holes in his skin, into the ducts of his eyes, mushrooms sprouting from his mouth. The drawing's edges seem to blend and merge with the real mushrooms, ending at spots on the wall where the curious blue fungus grows out from. I jump as I feel 5's hand on my shoulder. I'm really hoping that this stuff was left by a bunch of pranksters, a group that came before us, you know. Yeah, I mutter back. Maybe you know who did all of this. CM, I mean, to keep his legend going. Yeah, 5 says quietly. Maybe. We descend. I shoot one last look at the drawing before I do so. It's horrific. The steps lead into another little chamber of sorts, and the way forwards and deeper into the cave is through a low, tight passage. Nowhere near big enough to stand up in, you would have to crawl to get through. There's nobody in the chamber with 5 and I, so I can only assume that they've already done just that and pressed ahead. I squat down and shine my flashlight into the tunnel, and I can see someone's legs crawling away. I run a hand over my face and the 2 of us exchange another look, but we say no more. Down we get to our hands and knees and we crawl through the little tunnel. The rock below is cold and painful. It takes a good 3 or 4 minutes to get all the way through, and on the other side, the cavern branches off again, at all sorts of strange angles. Some tunnels go across, some down, and some are above our heads, impossible to reach. The walls of these caves are covered, absolutely covered, in the same styled white chalk drawings. This is incredible, says 6, taking snapshot after snapshot. I mean, just look at all this. The drawings here are more intricate than the face at the top of the stairs, but they are made with the same substance, and many are lost under the glowing blue fungus that grows between the cracks. Looking up and all around the drawings I see cover the ceilings as well as the walls, and a strange and sickening sense of sudden vertigo overcomes me. I stumble to a nearby rock and I lean against it, closing my eyes and breathing deep and gathering myself. I can hear my girlfriend chattering excitedly to number 7. I grimace and take another look around. The drawings are beautiful, in their own twisted way. Most are of the mushrooms with long stems, intertwined with each other in strange but careful patterns as they dance across the dark walls. Some are of men. Most of the drawings of these figures are small and difficult to spot amongst the fungus sketchings, but some are much larger, life-size perhaps. One such drawing shows the man sitting sadly atop a rock, his head in his hands. The drawing, unlike the others, looks rushed, hasty. It gives the uneasy impression that the man is trembling. CAVEBOY. I spot the name scrawled amidst the drawings, difficult at first glance to tell apart from the loops and twines of these stems of the chalk fungi. Hey, I say. Hey Six, get a picture of this, would you? She steps so close to me and brushes her hair behind her ear. The beam of a stray flashlight rushes past and reflects for a moment off of her earring as she lifts her phone to take the shot. A gasp of horror escapes from my lips and I take a step back. What the? Oh God. She looks at me startled. What is it? Your earrings. Six, your earrings, they're still in, aren't they? What are they made of? Aren't they gold? No names, no laughter, no silver or gold, no coming back after, no tales untold. The horror of realization passes across her face. She reaches up to her ears. Oh crap, you're right. Does this count? I mean, does jewelry count? The other members of the group are silent now, looking at her, and her voice gets a little more frantic. Does jewelry count? She asks again, desperately. A noise off in the distance to my left catches my attention. I turn and peer around a corner, shining my flashlight down the length of the long tunnel. I catch a glimpse of Juan examining something on the wall before he disappears out of sight. Juan, I call down to him. Get back here, man, we have an issue. What are you talking about? Juan replies from behind me. Terrible goosebumps ripple across my skin. I turn around to face him slowly. It's him, all right, staring at me with his head cocked. I know we've got an issue. Who are you calling at? I slam my teeth together and swing the flashlight back around as quick as I can, pointing it into the tunnel. But whatever the light had found down there in the darkness has gone. I had seen something. I could have sworn it. I had seen something or someone at the end of the tunnel. I had assumed that it was one, but now that the certainty of this notion had vanished, the memory began to warp and change and shift in my mind. I find myself unable to hold on to what it was that I had seen, if indeed I had seen anything at all. A man, surely, a figure at least. Pale. Oh God. Guys, we need to leave, I say. I'm not messing around here, we need to get out, and we need to get out right now. One nods and runs a hand across his lower jaw. I'm inclined to agree, he says gravely. Six, your earrings, are these solid gold? Is it even real gold at all? Not about the earrings, man, I say, grabbing a hold of one's jacket. There's something in the tunnels. I thought it was you just now. There's someone else down here. The group begins to look at each other, uncertainty rising, but one just stares back at me. You sure, Three? You absolutely sure? He whispers. I swear it. I say back, sweat beginning to bud and streak down my back. We gotta get out, man. Where? One replies. Down here. Yeah, down there. Cave boy, one whispers, and before I can stop him, he has pushed past me, striding down the tunnel, this flashlight raised high. Wait, Jared, but I bite my tongue. Juan, come back. But he does not, and so, like a fool, I chase after him. I tell the others to wait and I sprint on behind. My girlfriend ignores me, of course, and follows down too. As we approach, I can hear him talking, muttering to himself like a madman. I knew it, he keeps saying. Cave boy, I'm going to be the new CM. I'll be famous. Proof. Cave boy. He calls out into the tunnel like a lunatic. Cave boy, I know that you're here, man. What are you doing? I shout at him, grabbing him by the shoulders and slamming him up against the rock. We have to go now. But he shoves me off. He ignores my girlfriend's protests and pushes past her when she tries to stand in his way, and carries on into one of the offshoot tunnels. I didn't think that it went so deep, he muttered. I thought that it was only dead ends. Just dead ends and false promises. My blood runs cold. I run up to him and stop him for a second time. What do you mean you thought it was only dead ends? Number one, we haven't found any dead ends. No, he replies, not today we haven't, but the other tunnels all lead to dead ends. I can hear my heartbeat loud in my ears. How do you know that? I hiss. How could you possibly know? How do you think we found the cavern with the inscription so quickly, 3? I say nothing, but my chest rises and falls in panic. My girlfriend speaks. 1, have you been down here before? He smiles guiltily. Yes, he says quietly. Once, just once. I scoped the hole out a little. 2 helped me out. He came down with me. I didn't want it to be dangerous. For you guys, for the team. I didn't want us getting lost. We made it as far as the inscription and then came back. I wanted you guys to see what I saw. So you've been down here before then? I ask, angrily shaking him. You're a hypocrite. No coming back after, that's one of the rules. No, 1 says, pushing me off again. After means after finding CAVEBOY. I'm sure of it. How can you possibly be sure of that? You're insane. Enough of this man, we have to go. I grab him by the jacket and try to pull him back the way that we came. This is it, my last chance. If he's not going to comply, then I'm leaving the idiot behind. But I'm not sure which way that we came. Oh God, I don't know which way to go. The tunnels are many and they disappear off into the dark. He breaks free again and strides down one of the nearby corridors. Get your head in the game, he calls back to us. I promise you now, I'm going to find CAVEBOY or... He swings his flashlight back round in front of him, and he stops in his tracks. My girlfriend and I are at the base of the tunnel watching in terror. Number 1 is halfway down it, maybe 20 to 25 feet ahead, and beyond him a little bit deeper down the tunnel is someone else. Pale like 1 but thinner, taller, even though it is stooped over, it still looms over him. Its limbs are skinnier and longer, its rib cage is distended grotesquely. What I had perhaps mistaken for one's light gray jacket is nothing but skin, pulled tight across unnatural, outstretched, and broken bones. The creature's jaw hangs loose. Its eyes are 2 dark shadows. I can hear a low moaning. No, over and over again. Whether it's coming from me or from 4, I cannot tell. It takes all of my will not to scream at the abomination at the end of the tunnel. The moaning fades away and we stand there, us 4 in the dark of the tunnels, in silence. CAVEBOY. 1 whispers and takes a slow, cautious step backwards. The creature moves, slowly at first, and just its arm and its hand. They are the only things that move, and robotically so. The rest of it stays completely and possibly still, like a statue. The movement draws my eye and I see the long thin strands of the pale glowing fungus, connecting the creature's arm to the rock of the wall. As it moves, the fungus retreats, into his skin and into the rock, and new strands and stems push through to meet in the spot that he moves to. It's hard to explain, and it's harder still to comprehend. I hear 1 let out a whimper of distress as the creature's long arm reaches slowly out and its spindly fingers tap against his head. CAVEBOY is surely it can be none other, takes a slow step forward. The mushroom vines connecting his legs to the walls around retract, and new bonds form. The fungus shoots out from the rock and connects with the stems that grow out from the skin, like glowing wires, before his bare and pale foot has even touched the ground. The creature keeps tapping its fingers against 1's head, each finger slowly tapping one after the other. Guys, 1 calls back to us as quietly as he can, taking another retreating step. And CAVEBOY descends. The dark pits of his animal eyes, voids in that pale face, flash a bright and terrible blue as he violently sinks his teeth into one's neck, shaking him mercilessly, tearing him apart. "No!" I scream, but it is already too late. Dark blood gushes over one's writhing body and loudly onto the floor, splattering up the walls as CAVEBOY throws him around like a doll, tearing pieces off him wildly and furiously, eventually slamming his corpse against the ground to crack him open. I stagger against the wall and convulse, vomit rising up into my throat, and I expel it across the floor. I don't catch what my girlfriend says to me, but she's dragging me now, dragging me back through the tunnels. She's calling out for the team, and there's a voice in response, a girl's voice. It sounds like sex. "This way," she mutters. "This way, we're gonna be okay, we're gonna be alright." Though whether she's speaking to me or to herself, I cannot say. And there, the voices are getting clearer now. I can hear them and I can see them. 5 is at the front, staring at me in alarm. "Guys," he says, "what the heck is? Go!" I roar into his face, grabbing him by the cuff, gesturing frantically to the low little tunnel. "Go, back to the ladder." The force in my voice is enough. I can see it, the sheer, unarguable certainty, the conviction, the fear, and so they go. 7, then 6, scrambling down onto all fours and crawling back through the tunnel. 5 shoots us a terrified look. "CAVEBOY, he's real, 5. He's real," my girlfriend says, her voice strained. "Where is 1 at?" 5 asks, looking between the two of us. "Guys, where is he?" A low and wet, guttural moan echoes down through the tunnels, and we turn as one to stare back into the shadows. "Just go, man, please. Please go," I say again, and he swears but relents, crawling into the tunnel. I gesture my girlfriend through first, and then I swivel around at the approaching rumbling, casting my light down into the tunnel. It lands into the far end on CAVEBOY, face and torso a deep scarlet. He stares at me and then he wails, screaming as he jerks suddenly forward, slamming carelessly against the walls of rock, careening towards me out of the darkness. I turn and crash down to my knees and begin scrabbling madly into the tunnel, through it, crawling as fast as I physically can. I don't have time to put away my flashlight, so with every movement of my hand, I'm bashing it against the rock. It takes a few hits and then it falters. A few more and it goes dark. Dead. I come up to my girlfriend's feet. "Move," I bellow. "You have to go faster. Go, go, go." She does so, and I can sense the ripple of panic that flows all the way up to the front of the procession, and all the way back down to me. I hear her crying, a deep howl at the tunnel's base. I feel vibrations along the rock, and I shoot a look back. It's difficult to see in the dark, but a pale and unnatural shape is forcing its way towards me in the gloom. I see it reach forwards. I feel scratching at the soles of my boots. "Faster!" I roar, shoving 4 forwards. "I can't," she replies desperately. "I can't." I kick back at the horror behind me in the darkness, fearful with each kick that something is going to wrap around my foot and drag me back into the darkness. It certainly tries. I'm on my back now, eyes wide as I scrabble backwards to the best of my ability, kicking at the pale shapes in the shadow as CAVEBOY cries and screams. After what seems like a brutally long period of time, I gasp as I emerge backwards from the tunnel. 5 hoist me up to my feet, and together we run, catching up to the group, sprinting back through the tunnels, through the cavern with its stalactites and its formations of rock, and following the resilient glow of the red LEDs. "It's too big, right?" I pant to my girlfriend. "It's way too big. It can't fit all the way through the tunnel, surely. I mean, there's no way. I don't know, she replies breathlessly back. Our feet kick up eventually against cans and broken bottles, and we stagger to a halt at the base of the ladder. Oh God, oh thank you, I say out loud, jumping forward onto the ladder, beginning my desperate ascent. This time, there's no way that I'm gonna be the last one in the row again. Yeah, forget that. But I do make sure that my girl is behind me. I look up, squinting. I can see our man too at the top, silhouetted against the gray and swirling sky above, his hair whipped about his head. The welcome noise of the wind grows louder. 2, we're coming up. But 2 does not reply. He only watches as I scramble up the ladder of rope towards him, and he smiles sadly, a smile that freezes the blood in my veins. No, he calls down softly, barely loud enough for me to hear. No, you're not. And then, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. And he leans back, and using all his force, he tugs something out of the ground. The ladder swings to the side, and I smack into the wall with a crunch. I hear the others below me swear and cry out. 2, I call up. What are you doing? I'm sorry, James, he says to me, his voice soft, his face streaked with rain. But my father needs you. He's alone, you see. 2, I call up. I don't know what's happening, I can't comprehend. This is a guy that I've known for years. A friend. My friend. Please. But 2 shakes his head. And he's been alone for such a long time. Goodbye, James. Tell the others that I'm sorry. And then he grunts with exertion, pulling the ladder's final hook from the ground with all his might. And I watch him shoot upwards and away as the ladder falls and tumbles down the hole. My stomach lurches upwards as I cry out, as I drop, as we all drop, falling back down into the darkness below. I slam my back up against the walls of the hole, pressing my feet up against the side as I fall. It slows my descent, but not by enough to come to a stop. We tumble into a heap amongst the trash, 4 and 7 and I. 5 and 6 stare at us incredulously. 5 marches into the narrow shaft of gray light from above and shouts up to the top. What the heck? 2, what have you done? My girlfriend is hyperventilating. No, she mutters, standing and striding over to the dim circular beam of light, pushing 5 aside and calling up to the top as well. 2, please, why would you do this? I go to her, but she shoves me away and starts to sob. I run a hand over my head. 5 spins and looks at me, clenching his fists. What is this? 3, what has he done? Guys, what is going on? Somebody explain it to me, please. I suck in some dank cave air through my teeth, looking behind him down the rocky passage. No sign of the creature, but I don't know if it was able to make it all the way through the narrow tunnel. CAVEBOY is real, I say flatly. He's real and 1 is dead. It killed him. What? 6 steps forwards, shaking, looking from me to 4. You're kidding, right? Guys. But she can see the truth playing across our haunted faces. My girlfriend wipes her face and tries to bring her sobbing under control. I saw it, we both did. Guys, CAVEBOY is not a joke, I say. It's real, he's real. He's a monster of some kind, and he killed 1. He tore out his throat. My voice catches on the last word and I'm unable to speak on. I'm still processing. 7 begins to whimper. 5 crouches by the ground and starts rooting through the backpack. And 2, I don't know, he said something about his father, about how he needs us, and then he let the ladder down on purpose. Okay, enough. 7 wipes her nose and stands straight, shoulders squared, shaking, tears running down her face, staring right at me. She juts forward and I stumble back. This isn't funny, this is sick. James, just what do you think you're... Both 4 and I cry out at the mention of my name. 4 physically tries to put her hand over 7's mouth, but she pushes her off. What? Listen to me, 7, she says. Please, please listen. This is all real. We don't know what's going on, but this isn't a prank. I swear to you, I swear in my life. We have to obey the rules. We have to follow the rules or we have no hope, I'm sure of it. I remember then. The earrings, I say. 6, you need to take off your earrings right now. Take them off and throw them away. Shakily, she does so. We're all walking a tightrope here. I think everybody's in shock. No one quite knows what to do or how to react. I'm going back for Jeremy, 7 says quietly. That's his name, number 1, Jeremy. 7, come on. But she's already walking off down the tunnel. Calmly, eerily. She hasn't even got her flashlight switched on. 4 brings her up and onto her back as we call after her, but the light lands on something else beyond. He's there. Caveboy. Stock still, just like before, staring with those void black eyes, a jaw hanging, neck cracking as like a robot. His head tilts suddenly to the side, looking down at 7 before him. And we all see him, every one of us, and he is no less horrific. More so really given the dark stains across his face and torso. A sudden flash of silver to my right causes me to look across and down to 5, crouched by the group's backpack, a metal flare gripped in his hands. The flare, but crap, there's only one. We only have the one. Wait, 5, I say desperately. There's just the one, we could. But there's no use finishing my sentence. The thought that had occurred to me then all of a sudden was to shoot the flare up through the hole. A rescue flare, hope that somebody sees and comes in search for us. That's presumably why he has it in his hand. But there is really only one thing to do with the flare now. Needs must when the devil drives. And 5 does not hesitate. He points the metal at the atrocity in the tunnel and slams it, firing it off. A bright red burst explodes from the end and whizzes through the air towards Caveboy's chest. It punches into him and he staggers back, and we are forced to shield our eyes as, like a firework, it explodes more violently into a blaze of orange and red. I sprint forward, still shielding my eyes, ignoring the twisted howls and screeches, and grab 7 by the scruff of her collar, dragging her back to the group, and away we run down an opposite tunnel. One as of yet unexplored. We're sprinting, panicked, flashlight beams jumping all over, bumping and crashing into each other as Caveboy screams behind. The orange and red glow fading as we round corner after corner through the caves. The bag. 5 mutters bitterly through grunts. I forgot the bag. Forget it, man, it's gone, it's okay. We'll be okay. I say back to him as we run, with 6 at the head leading the way, through passage after passage. She's doing the opposite to what 1 did. She's not choosing the paths that go down. She's opting for the ones that seem to keep us relatively level. But soon there is no choice, and so back down we go. We begin to tire, and stumbling around a corner, I pull the group together and whisper for everybody to turn off their flashlights. They do so, and we huddle together, waiting, tensed and braced, listening intently for noises and sounds that would indicate Caveboy's approach. We listen, but we hear nothing. Nothing but our ragged breathing in the dark of the caves. Our eyes begin to adjust to the low level of light provided by the glowing blue fungus, and the faces of my friends start to appear in form in the darkness, illuminated ever so subtly. We wait a little longer, and when it becomes clear that we are not being followed, we slump to a sit, resting our tired legs. 7 starts to cry again, her attempts to stifle her sobs admirable but poor. 1, she whimpers, and I put a hand out to my right and squeeze her shoulder. We can process this once we're out, when we're safe. For now, guys, we just gotta get the heck out of here. So how are we going to do that? 6 asked me, the lenses of her glasses reflecting the dim glow of the mushrooms. All right, I say, trying desperately to keep my voice calm. 6, you got any signal? She shakes her head. All right, how about this then? We keep going. This place is massive. It's entirely possible that there's another way in and out. We search for one, and if we can't find anything then we come back the way that we came, head back to the hole, and hope that cave boys disappeared and we try to climb up. Climb up, 5 replies. Are you insane? There's no way we can do that. I lick my teeth. It's not a great plan, I appreciate that. And how are we going to find our way back? 6 asks. The LEDs were in the backpack, and we didn't have all that many to begin with. I pause, but my girlfriend speaks up to my left, her face barely visible in the glow. The mushrooms. We'll use the mushrooms. Pull a whole bunch out of the wall and put them into piles. Movement catches my eye. 5 is shaking his head. They're not bright enough, it won't work. It will work, she retorts. If we have enough of them in each pile, we'll be able to see. It won't be as obvious as the LEDs, but we'll see them for sure if we're looking. 5 runs his hand over his jaw again, thinking, but 4 stands up before he can respond. She tugs a couple of handfuls of the fungus out of the wall and forms them into a pile in the middle of our little circle. We become a little clearer, a little brighter. 5 nods. Okay, I'm in. Let's do this. 6 murmurs her agreement, but 7 remains silent. 7? I say softly. I don't like this, she whispers. I want to go home. I just want to go home. It's okay, we'll be okay, 6 tells her, and as a group we stand and we make a choice on a tunnel. Walking in a careful and cautious procession, our flashlights off. Our eyes are adjusting and we don't want to draw any more attention than is necessary. We try to make what we believe to be logical choices whenever we're faced with multiple tunnels. We pull mushrooms from the wall and create little glowing piles and press on. 7 has started to cry again softly. I reach out in front of me and squeeze her shoulder in the darkness. She thanks me quietly, squeezing my hand back in return. 4 is beyond her, with 5 currently leading the procession. We walk for some time. The white outline of a sketch catches my eye through the gloom, small and crude. Like the first face, but this one looks like a man sat cross-legged, facing the opposite way. It's at the edge of a tunnel that we aren't following, so I decide, perhaps unwisely, not to bring it up. I wonder if any of the other members of the group saw it too. I turn to look behind me to count, to make sure that we're all still together. There's 7 and 6 at the back. Wait, 7? What's 7 doing behind me? I could have sworn that she was in front. I swear suddenly and swivel around, grabbing the shoulders of the girl in front of me and turning her to face me. She shrieks and the whole procession jumps, distressed. What the heck? She says to me, staring into my eyes. It's 4, it's my girlfriend. Have you been in front of me the whole time? I ask, my voice uneven. Yes, I have. Why? What's the matter? Were you crying earlier? Was I crying? Yes, crying. Were you crying? She furrows her eyebrows. The pale blue light reflects in her deep brown eyes. No, babe, I wasn't crying. A chill shivers through me and I swear again, running a hand over my face, feeling pinpricks of sweat form over my skin despite the clammy coldness. This place, this terrible place, I mutter, pushing past to the front of the group, leading us on. I'm losing it. I'm really starting to lose it. One of the tunnels seems to be ever so slightly brighter than the others. It could be my mind playing tricks on me, but it's worth a shot. We head towards it and the glow does get a little stronger, there's no doubt about it. but as we approach, it becomes clear that the source of the glow is a pile of mushrooms, exactly like the ones that we've been leaving as markers. In fact, it is one of our markers. It has to be. Oh, crap. I mutter as the others gather around. We've just come around in a circle. 3. 5 whispers urgently. He knocks my shoulder and points up to the wall of rock near the ceiling. There's something new. At least it's got to be new. I didn't see it the last time that we were here, and neither did anybody else. It's a drawing of us. The 5 of us, sat in a circle like we were when we came up with the plan. 2 guys, 3 girls surrounding a little chalk pile of the strange fungus. Oh no. 6 murmurs as the panic once again starts to rise. A groan warbles through the darkness of the caves around us, a faint wail that echoes across the walls. 7 starts to babble almost incoherently. No. I can make out through gibberish. I'm done. And I turn and see her scrabbling at her belt, and then there's a click and suddenly the chamber is flooded with light. No! Someone yells, but it's too late. We're all momentarily blinded as 7 swings around the beam of her flashlight, talking to herself in a rising tone, darting away from us to stop us from grabbing it off of her. Turn it off, my girlfriend hisses. Please, 7, just turn it off and be quiet. 7 stops and she falls silent, but she does not turn off the flashlight. She stands still, staring, and with gritted teeth I turn and allow my gaze to follow the beam of light. It lands on a drawing against the far wall. It looks new. It's a drawing of 7, her arms outstretched, her eyes closed. And it's her all right. The sketch is definitely her. She lifts the flashlight and the beam rises up towards the ceiling. And there up high it reveals a tunnel carved into the rock. And at the tunnel's mouth is CAVEBOY, watching silently from above, smiling. 7 stutters, the hand holding the flashlight shakes violently. Please, she whimpers. CAVEBOY is like a statue, such total reptilian stillness. He doesn't move a muscle, until he does. His eyes flash that bright and terrible blue and his hands fly out to either side, gripping tightly onto the rock and flinging himself down towards us, howling. Pale blue fungus shoots out from the cracks in the rock below to connect with his skin as he lands amongst us, grabbing a hold of 7's hair and pulling her roughly and suddenly towards one of the tunnels. She screams and drops her flashlight, and the little cavern comes alive with rapidly swinging, crisscrossing beams as we scramble to her defense, adrenaline surging as we grab her and try to pull her away. And there are more of us. We have the strength on our side, and we pull her back. 5 is swinging his flashlight down against CAVEBOY's head, screaming at it, and we're all pulling, punching, kicking, as CAVEBOY's moans of anguish grow louder and louder. He reaches out with both hands, shuddering under the blows that we're delivering, and grabs 7 by the head, jerking her towards them. She stumbles and loses her footing, and she's pulled from our grip. CAVEBOY holds her up and promptly snaps her neck with a sickening crunch. There's a scream. I feel like I'm above the scene, looking down on myself as CAVEBOY keeps going, cracking, snapping, and eventually tearing into her hungrily like an animal, slamming her body down onto the rock and losing himself to the frenzy. We leave her. I mean, what else can we do? And so on we run, following the trail of glowing fungus piles until 4 grabs me roughly by the hoodie and pulls me sharply to the right. Guys, she says, down here, this way. We follow her down. 5 trips, but I catch him by the collar and I pull him back up, stumbling over the rocky and uneven floor. We crash into a wall and 4 hushes us all at once, desperately and urgently. 4, 6 begins, her voice thick with fear. What are you? Shh, she urges again. Listen. And I do. I try to listen past the noise of my own heartbeat, of our deep breathing, and at the edges of my hearing, I do pick something up. A noise, a low rumble. It could be anything, but it's not constant, it's subtle. But it seems to get slightly louder and then slightly quieter again in pulses. You hear it, she says, and we nod. I think it's the sea, you guys. We're not far from the cliffside, right? I don't know how far below ground we are, but that could well be the sea. And if it is, then that might be our way out. 5 nods, but he doesn't respond. His eyes are wide, his face a deathly pale. He's in shock. We all are, I suppose. 6, at least, is trying her best to maintain composure. Okay, it's a decent plan, I think. Let's do it. We'll listen for the sounds of the sea, if it is the sea, and try and get as close as we can. We turn the flashlights off and we allow our eyes to adjust and we press on. We take turns being at the front and back and in the middle of the procession, looking all around us as we shuffle through the darkness, below, above, everywhere really, looking out for signs of CAVEBOY. Our ears guide us and we follow tunnels that seem to lead toward the gentle rushing in the distance, a rumbling which grows louder as we approach, until we are certain that it can be nothing other than the pushing pull of the waves against the cliffside. The pale form of a figure slumped up against the wall ahead becomes suddenly visible through the gloom, illuminated in the faint blue light of the mushrooms. 5 is at the head of the procession and he flings an arm out to stop us in our tracks, and we freeze with our breaths held. But the figure is too small, too skinny. It does not look tensed or primed. I squint. It looks like it's a skeleton. 6 whispers from behind. We cautiously approach and sure enough, a broken skeleton sits battered on the floor against the rocky wall, its skull cocked to the side, its jaw missing. The stems and vines of the blue fungus are intertwined with its bones, through its ribcage, in and out of the holes for its eyes, its nose, looped around and around its spine. Who did this set of bones belong to? It looks vaguely man-sized, but then I have no real idea how big skeletons actually are. It could be a man's. I think on what 2 had said to me, his final words as he cast down the ladder. Father needs you. He's alone, you see. What does he mean by that? I grimaced down at the twisted skeleton at my feet. Could this be him? 2's father? I rub a hand across my forehead and share my thoughts out loud with the group. They are stirring and swearing before I finished. What do we actually know about 2's dad? 6 asks, pushing her glasses up her nose. Died before he was born. My girlfriend murmurs in response. Supposedly. 1 and 2 came down here before, I remember. I'm sorry, I should have told you guys sooner, but well. I trail off. They've been here before, 5 asks incredulously. That's what 1 told us, yeah. I reply, gesturing to 4. They scoped the place out, the 2 of them, by themselves. We're silent for a moment, all looking down at the skeleton. It's a sad sight. Down here in the darkness by itself, alone. I always thought that CM was just some prankster, you know. 5 mutters. Colin McCreed. He goes on. I never thought that the stories they attribute to him would actually be true. Maybe this is him, 6 says quietly, gesturing to the skeleton. It can't be, 4 replies. He skipped town. Did he though? 6 says back. How much of the rumors are true, do you think? What do we really know about this guy? What happened to him? And the answer, of course, is very little. We simply don't know. We ponder this as we continue on along our way. I grant the skeleton a final, pitiful glance before he disappears behind us, lost once again in the darkness. The sound of rushing water becomes clear and loud ahead. The walls are damp. The curious fungus grows thick between the cracks. I hear a noise down one of the tunnels to my left, like a groaning. I'm at the front now and I halt and spin, forcing the group to a sudden stop as I reach instinctively for my flashlight. My fingers twitch, but I resist the urge to click it on. I instead squint and stare into the dark. There's nothing but shadows. Did I imagine it? The groan. The sound of the water has made it difficult to pick up on the lesser noises. "What is it?" my girlfriend whispers. "Did you see something?" I thought that I might have heard it," I whisper back, "but I'm not sure." We stand in silence for a little longer, but there's no use hanging around. We walk a little faster. Round a corner we go, further round until we find ourselves in a new cavern. The floor is covered in dark cracks, some thin, some massive, holes to the depths that lie even deeper below. The ground falls away not too far ahead, and given by the noise, it must be an underground river of some kind. Seawater, judging by the smell of it. There is a rocky outcrop, a natural, narrow bridge that leads across the dark drop and over to the other side, where a tunnel leads off into the unknown. And on the ground before the bridge are the mushrooms. They have been torn from the walls and placed carefully into an obvious pattern. "Oh shit," I hear to my left. "Oh no, no, no," as Six steps forward. The pattern you see the mushrooms are arranged in the shape of a large six, glowing in the dark. Six crouches down and she reaches a tentative hand out towards it. I take a step closer, as do the others, and it looks like she's about to touch it. The six that has been created on the rock at our feet. But she pulls her hand back with a little gasp and a turn of her head, as if she's just noticed something else. She instead reaches out to the side and collects two small shiny objects in her fingers. "What is it?" 4 asks. "What have you found?" 6 does not reply. "6, 5 hisses. "What have you found?" She turns, shaking, holding the objects out to us in her open palm. They glitter under the light of the mushrooms. "They're my earrings, you guys," she says quietly. A groan from one of the tunnels makes me start and jump in alarm. It's close. It sounds so close I can't take it. I do exactly as 7 did. Like a fool, I grab my flashlight and I try to switch it on. But I had forgotten. It doesn't work. I had broken it earlier when I had bashed it against the rock. I drop it and I grab one from my girlfriend's belt, unclipping it and fumbling for the switch as I turn it on and shoot the beam down the tunnel. "Hey!" I swear that I can see something scurry just out of view. Something pale. I'm sure of it. I'm so sure. "What are you doing?" 5 says to me, shoving me. "Turn it out, you idiot." "There's something there," I hiss. "You didn't hear it. None of you heard that." 4 squeezes my shoulder. "I didn't hear anything. Are you sure that?" She begins, but she's cut off by a piercing shriek. 5's flashlight goes on too, and our hearts pound in fright, turning and casting our beams over to 6. She's on the ground, scrabbling desperately. There's something wrapped around her leg. It's a hand. It's CAVEBOY's hand. The top of his head appears from one of the dark cracks, his eyes flashing as he screeches, dragging 6 towards it as she kicks and flails and screams. I run to her, grabbing her by the hand, staring into her eyes that are pleading, begging for rescue. 4 helps me as 5 starts yelling and kicking at CAVEBOY's head, and I'm suddenly angry. I'm tired, cold, scared, and furiously angry. "So it's all for nothing then," I bellow to no one in particular, no longer able to keep hold of the stress. The whispering, the stumbling around in the dark with no light. It's all for nothing. You're always watching, aren't you, CAVEBOY? Watching and waiting to pick us off one by one. And while I've been dragged to the ground, I lift my leg and bring the heel of my boot down onto CAVEBOY's hand with a crunch over and over. The creature wails and relents, disappearing below the cracked surface momentarily as 5 stomps on his head. For a cruelly hopeful moment, I feel a flood of triumph, of success, but it is tragically short-lived. CAVEBOY pushes back up, squeezing himself from the crack with a terrifying speed and surge of energy, howling as he shoves 5 violently out of the way, sending him sprawling up against the rock wall with a dull thud. The horror crawls towards me, jaw swinging, and in pure instinct I cover my face, rolling to the side in a last-ditch attempt to protect my neck. But he does not go for me. He goes for 6. And he kills her. I hear her screaming, loud, then louder, and then silenced. I lift my head, watching through gritted teeth as he drags 6's corpse up to the side of the wall and starts breaking her apart. 5 sprints by me and with 4's help, hoists me to my feet, and together the 3 of us run, stricken, towards the bridge. CAVEBOY isn't going to stop. He won't stop. He's going to keep messing with us and picking us off one by one until we're all dead. We have to get out. Sprinting single file over the rocky overhanging bridge, I shoot a glance down and regret it immediately. My stomach lurches as I realize just how high up we are. The salt water below is dark and violent, rushing and roaring mercilessly far beneath. But if the water got in here, then that means that there's a way out. 5 enters the tunnel at the far side and stumbles to an immediate stop, swearing angrily. He turns back to us. It's blocked. The way is blocked. I push past him, staring at the tumbled rocks that block our way, and I don't even hesitate. I lurch forwards and grab onto one of the rocks, grasping and pulling it towards me with all my might, heaving it from its spot and towards the stony ground. Small stones that make up the wall are dislodged and tumble down along with it, but the sound that the larger makes as rock collides with the rock is cringingly loud. I turn to look behind me as 4 and 5 start to madly scrabble at the fallen stones, pushing and pulling them out of the way as best they can. CAVEBOY is hunched over 6's body, but he turns too and we make eye contact. That horrible creature. You can go to hell. Keep digging, I say to the others in a voice as cold as the surrounding stone. I walk away from the tunnel and step forward towards the bridge. My girlfriend shouts after me, "What are you doing? Come back." "Just move the rocks and get out of here," I shout back, clenching my fists and standing my ground, holding my flashlight tight and ready to use as a weapon as CAVEBOY half walks, half crawls to the edge, stepping tentatively onto the bridge. He comes another step closer. I brace, and he stops. He looks me in the eye. He looks at me with those deep, dark, shadowed pits, and he groans, reaching out a hand towards me, glowing blue mushrooms spiraling out from the narrow cracks in the bridge beneath to feed into the skin of his hand and arm. Unblinkingly, I slowly shake my head, staring him down. I can hear my girlfriend screaming from behind me. I hear the scrabbling and thudding of rock being broken away from the blockage. "What do you want, CAVEBOY?" I mutter to the abomination through clenched teeth, sweating, shaking with tension. He stops, stock still like earlier, like a statue, until his neck cracks horribly to the right. I jump in alarm, but still I hold my ground. CAVEBOY's jaw grinds and he retches. He makes a terrible choking sound and then a quieter one, like a whimper. And then he speaks. "Legend," he croaks. My eyes widened and a renewed burst of adrenaline flows like river rapids through my body. I do not reply, I just stare at CAVEBOY, staring in horror and confusion. Legend? What is he saying? What does he mean? I watch as CAVEBOY takes a step back. He reaches down and from the edge of the drop, he grabs a clump of the glowing blue mushrooms. He looks up again, retakes that step forward, and he reaches out. He holds his hand out towards me, palm up, showing me the collected fungus. Is he offering them to me maybe? I'm lightheaded and I have to keep my focus to avoid stumbling, even where I stand, stumbling and risking a fall to the rushing water below. "We have to leave this place, Caveboy," I whisper. "It's all that I can manage. You have to let us go. We don't belong down here in the dark." He places the mushroom by my feet and his eyes flash bright blue. "Neither do I," he replies, and he lurches forwards. I scream out to the others and tell them to go, and I raise the flashlight high, ready to smack it against the Caveboy's jaw, but I am too slow. I am far, far too slow. Caught off guard, he charges me, but he does not strike. He pushes past me, and the bridge is narrow and there is nowhere to go. I stumble and I slip over the edge. The flashlight tumbles from my grip as I spin, and I manage to grab a hold of the rock of the bridge's edge, bringing myself to a sudden and jolting stop, hanging. I grunt in pain, dangling from the side of the bridge with my feet kicking in air, and the flashlight falls to become lost in the churning water below. I struggle, swearing with effort as I try to clamber back onto the bridge, but it's taking all my effort to simply hang in place. Caveboy staggers towards the others, and they're so close. They're so close to breaking through the rock that I can see it. But they're too late. Both of them push back, punching and shouting, throwing rocks, but they cannot stop him. Caveboy grabs a hold of my girlfriend's hair and turns, dragging her back across the bridge. "No!" I grunt from my position, straining as I try with all my might to clamber back up onto the rock. "No!" She's panicking now, on her back as she's dragged past me across the bridge to my right, back over to the other side, and she makes eye contact with me as she struggles and screams. Caveboy slams her up against the wall and grabs a hold of her neck. "James!" she screams at me. "Bree!" I begin shouting back at her, but a hand forcefully covers my mouth and stifles my words. It's Five. I feel him grab my collar, my arm. He grits his teeth as he hauls me back up onto the bridge and back onto the rock. And Caveboy snaps my girlfriend's neck. "Brianna." Her name is Brianna, and he hunches over her and starts to tear her apart. I can't even comprehend what I'm seeing. It feels like I'm in a dream, a nightmare. But I'm vaguely aware of Five dragging me, up pushing through the last of the rock blockage, up pulling me through tunnel after tunnel, closer and closer to the source of the rushing water. The sound getting louder, the walls getting damper, the fungus thinning and disappearing, and the smell of the salt getting stronger. And we stumble at last into a smallish cave. There are no more tunnels here, just a narrow shelf of rock, and below us, water, not flowing, just rippling. The sound of the sea is loud, and Five sits us down and he tells me his plan. I'm not really listening. He tells me that we're going to wait, and so that's what I do. What we both do. We wait. For several long hours we wait. Tensed, not quite in silence but close enough. I cry for a while, the sobs racking my aching body, and the water below us recedes. Slowly but surely it goes down. Wet rock platforms become visible. The water recedes further, and a passageway appears below. Five jumps down into it and I follow, the water coming up to our knees. We crouch and follow the passageway through. It's not very deep or long, maybe 10 feet or so, and it leads us out and up into a larger cave. A cave with natural light. A cave that opens up to the sea, the receding tide, and the pale gray glow of the morning sky. Matt puts his hand on my shoulder. That's Five's name, Matt. And we wade through the icy water, over the rock, and then over the gray pebbles and the sand. Up we climb, slowly but surely up the side of the cliff, following rugged pathways where we can. We make it back up onto the land, and we go home. They never found the bodies or Caveboy. A whole operation was launched. I'm sure you can picture it. Police tape, cars, cameras, search parties, floodlights, and forensic scientists. We told them everything, the whole story. They held us for a while, interviewed us again and again and again, but we could give them nothing, not really. So eventually, they just had to let us go. They never found half the stuff that Matt and I told them about. They never found the drawings on the wall, the secret stairs, or the broken skeleton. I think they found the rules, though, carved into the rock as they were. No names, no laughter, no silver or gold. No coming back after, no tales untold. And they found the mushrooms too, the glowing blue fungus, and they took some samples, and quite dangerous things apparently. The spores alone, they say, can induce nasty hallucinations, especially in cramped and enclosed spaces. They wanted us to go back down with them, to show them where to go, which passages to take, but I told them no way. I think now that they're planning to just block the hole off for good. The first thing that I did when I got back that first morning, I unplugged Brianna's phone, still on charge in my room, and I looked through it. I can't say what brought on the urge, but the urge was there, and I was still in a daze really, I think, but I searched through it completely, and you know what I found? A long series of interesting messages. Very interesting messages indeed. It turns out that Brianna was cheating on me with number 2, Caleb being his real name. She had been for some time. The evidence couldn't have been clearer. No tales untold. You think you know a person. As for 2 himself, he disappeared just like Colin MacLeod. Vanished off the face of the planet. Disappeared to somewhere else, I should think. Smart guy. Because if I ever see him again, I'm going to kill him. It was me that Brianna called out for, though, at the end. She called out for me, not for him. I don't know, it feels like that means something, I guess. I don't really know how to feel. 5 and I haven't spoken much since, or Matt and I should say, but I know that the guy's in therapy now. I'll probably be following him in there soon enough. I keep replaying that night by the hole over and over again in my head. The 7 of us all stood there around it in the wind and rain, buzzing with nervous energy, with anxious but excited anticipation. One was an idiot, Jeremy, selfish too. I never should have allowed myself to get wrapped up in his plan, but I can't place the blame entirely on him. We'll be the legends, he had said. The new legends. And what can I say? The stories have already spread faster and further than those of Colin MacLeod ever did, I should think. Jeremy was right. He was absolutely right. We're the legends now. I hoped you enjoyed the story today. If you did, feel free to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you are subscribed, turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. Also, drop a comment down below on what stories you want to hear next. Stay creepy, everyone. Damon McCory, Rain, Big Country Allen, Smiling Cat, Jerry Ramey, Nelson Asada, Die Screaming, Meat Gasher. Thank you all for supporting the channel.